What's going on, guys? So I'm super excited to introduce this project to you. We're gonna be taking this basic Squier Classic Vibe guitar and we're gonna be decking it out, putting in tons of new parts. So what I wanna do is run you guys through all the parts that I have for it, from tuners. I have a new neck here that I'm gonna be unboxing for you guys. New pickups, almost new everything, and seeing what we can do to build this into a dream guitar. So this is the guitar that we're starting off with. This is the 50s Classic Vibe Telecaster. So I've had this thing for about a week. I bought it brand new, so there's no modifications done to it. So I did want to run through a quick review and a couple of thoughts initially of what I think of this thing. Honestly, pretty impressed with it. I do have a couple of comments and critiques, and I'll do a couple of close-up shots for you here. My one critique on it is the fretwork. Compared to, obviously a higher-end guitar, you're going to be seeing a much better quality of finish on the neck. If you do see here, though, in some of these shots, there are some odd, funky gaps that occur on a couple of the frets that I'm really not a huge fan of, and then, up toward the upper frets, there's some, some funky marking, and I'm not surprised by it, but at the same time, I would have expected a slightly better fit and finish. And the other thing that kind of stood out to me too is that the pickguard really is actually already beginning to warp. So right out of the box, I was having issues with the pickguard warping a little bit, which again, isn't a huge deal, but when you buy something brand new, you expect it to be, of a higher quality. I will note that the tone pot is definitely a little wobbly. Something as simple as tightening that up would alleviate that, but again, it's for 400 bucks, it's not a bad guitar at all. Overall, I'm impressed with it. I really love the finish on the body, which is one of the main reasons that I am starting off with this guitar. So for this project, I'm going to be going with a Fender roasted maple neck. I always find it's interesting that you really can't buy a Fender guitar with a roasted neck, or a roasted maple neck, really for anything I found on their website, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the guitars that were available with roasted maple were well over $1,000. So I did find that interesting, and that was kind of one of the reasons that drew me to use this neck on this project. And as far as the other hardware goes in this guitar, I'm going to be using the Fender locking tuners, Fender USA spec string trees, all parts electro socket, which is a replacement input jack, as well as the Wilkinson compensated bridge saddles. So I reached out to the guys over at 920D Custom, and they were kind enough to send me out a loaded Telecaster pickguard for this project, and this is actually loaded up with the Fiesta Pickups vintage noiseless. So they send out the pickguard, obviously, with the neck pickup, and then the bridge pickup is separate, which I have to wire in, and they also send out a Telecaster control plate as well. So huge thank you to the guys over at 920D for hooking it up. So we're going to start first by removing the strings on the guitar and then taking the Squier neck off so we can put the new Fender neck on. And next up here, we're going to be dropping in the new Fender locking tuning machines. And a quick tip for those who don't know, these are actually staggered, the Fender locking tuners, so you can actually tell, let's see if this will focus here. There is a small little number here on the side that shows a 1, so you'll have 3 that are 1s, and these are actually a little bit longer than the other strings. So just be mindful of that when you're doing an installation if you take a look here in comparison. So now we are on to the pickups and pickguard. So we're gonna take off the stock stuff and swap this thing out. here is the final product. So we are finally done with this build. Really happy with the way that it came out. So I'm going to run through some tones for you guys, but before I do that, I wanted to address a couple of things that I didn't get on camera that were a little bit problematic during this build, and the main one being the nut. So I ended up having to replace the nut in the guitar. I went with a Tusk XL bone nut. I've used their stuff for a while and really like it. The nut that came in the guitar was not cut well. It was really set up to be adjusted and filed down, which I don't have the tools for. Just way easier in general to just replace the nut and not worry about that. So that took some extra time, and overall, as usual, intonation on a vintage Telecaster is never fun. So that took me a bit of time, but other than that, it's all set to go. So I want to run through some tones for you guys, show you what this thing can do, and thanks for sticking along and checking out the video. I am using the Positive Grid Spark interface. This is the Positive Grid Spark 40, and I'm running that straight into GarageBand. So here are a couple of tones for you guys to check out.